The Memory Corridor. Hello Assassins, Gustav, also known as Gargudon here, and welcome to episode 3 of the Assassin's Creed podcast, The Memory Corridor. As always, this podcast is hosted by me, and for each episode, I have a guest who will be discussing a topic regarding Assassin's Creed with me. And for today's topic, we have got Rogue in Reverse and Assassin's Creed stories, which yes, may sound a bit strange to some of you, but I'll get more into that in just a second during the topic intro. Now, for today's guest, we have my friend White24Room. Now, just to those who might not know about you, tell the audience a bit about yourself and the awesome things you do here in the Assassin's Creed community.
Well, so I'm White24Room from the Assassin's Creed Universe channel, and basically we are just a team of content creators for the Assassin's Creed community. We make montages, tributes, fan trailers, all those kind of things, but also some analyses. Pretty much we try to do a lot of different things, and hopefully people like it.
Yeah. So, as you can hear, Clea makes some pretty epic stuff, which I can only recommend checking out. You can definitely find some pretty badass tributes on the AC Universe channel, and you can definitely check that out if you haven't already. And should you be interested in that out, links to White24Room's different social media and the AC Universe YouTube channel will be in the description below, and as I said, it's only something I can recommend checking out. But now, without further ado, it is time to kick off the topic discussion of today, so let's just get right to it. And once again, just like last time on episode 2, today's topic has been chosen by the guest. So, the reason for this Rogue in Reverse and Assassin's Creed Stories topic coming to my mind is because I once saw on, I think it was on Twitter, I saw some people I can't specifically remember come up with this idea of instead of an assassin becoming a Templar would become an assassin. And when I was writing down some topic ideas for the podcast, I thought about that idea I once saw. I thought of it as a topic and immediately fell in love with it. And I just think since an assassin becoming a Templar isn't necessarily what I'd call a cliche, but certainly something we're not missing or have yet to see in the Assassin's Creed universe. But the idea of a Templar becoming an assassin is something that could undoubtedly make for an awesome Assassin's Creed game, what I think could be one of the best, if not the best, AC story to date. Now, today we're going to dig deeper into the idea of a Templar becoming an assassin, or the Assassin's Creed story in reverse, what can make a good story with this, perhaps a bit about what makes an awesome AC story in general, and possibly with more. So, just before we kick this off, do you have anything to say or ask? Perhaps a few words about why you chose this topic here for the episode.
Well, pretty much like you, I was really interested by this idea of having an assassin becoming a Templar. I mean, I love when in AC games you have sort of those unique journey for the assassins, and having someone who is kind of in the bad guy side, becoming the good guy. I think it could be very interesting.
It could definitely be very interesting. Yeah. Alright, but with all intros and such out of the way, let's just get straight to it. And for today, we are doing the discussion the original way, where I have prepared the questions for the guest, instead of the guest having made them for me like it happened in episode 2 last time. And that is, of course, because this is a topic where I feel right at home when it comes to question ideas compared a bit to last time in episode 2. But that doesn't mean that there will be some questions for me at the end of the episode. So yeah. Alright then, but now let's just get straight to the awesome questions I have for you. So, my first question to you is, in what historical period and location would you like to see an Assassin's Creed story with the Templar becoming an assassin concept as one of the main focuses?
Well, that's a very interesting question, and to be honest, I don't know precisely. I'm not the type of guy who is like expecting a historical period or speculating, I don't really care about the period, although I think it could be cool to have this type of storyline set during a time period where the assassins are almost all extinguished, and the Templar you play as in the beginning, he's kind of betrayed by his order, and he's gonna join the assassin and rebuild the Brotherhood from scratch. But in what historical period in particular, I don't really know.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely interesting that you say perhaps when the assassins are almost extinct. Because from what I know, after Syndicate there in 1868 and up towards the Russian Revolution, I think there was a comic book called that, The Great Fall. The assassins Great Fall. So that could definitely be interesting. Seeing that there, maybe set it in, I don't know, perhaps just after the maybe the Jack the Ripper DLC, in the 1890s. That could definitely be interesting. The Templars have I don't know, taken down all assassin operations, down across this and that, and maybe in Europe, and then. I don't know, Templar, he feels betrayed, and then he, joins the assassins and decides to help rebuild what he destroyed. Really, give back to the assassins. Yeah. But also just what you said, you're not necessarily expecting something from the time period. That's also definitely, that's pretty interesting because, I think the time period, that it's really that which I guess sets the drive for the game, all depending on what weapons you have and what your opportunities are. Definitely pretty interesting, but now that you say it, maybe set it after Syndicate. That could definitely be pretty interesting, also with weapons and such. I'd expect in the 1890s, maybe you could even drive around in a car. Maybe just an old car. Yeah. So, yeah.
Or maybe, the time period where Xiao Jun, from the Umber's short movie, I think she tells Ezio that in China there are huge problems for the assassins, they are all hunted down. So maybe you could set this type of game in China as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. We already had Chronicles China, which I have yet to play, but I have installed, so I'm definitely going to give that a go soon. But from what I remember, I've seen all sorts of honest game trailers for Assassin's Creed games where they say one of their main problems is that it still hasn't set a view in Japan. I'm not personally that enthusiastic about setting an AC game in Japan. But from what I know,
totally agree.
The Japanese Empire, they were pretty big around, they're around the 16th century. So to all those who maybe really want a game set in Japan, that could perhaps be their turn. Set that there. I don't know that much about Japan's history, but it could definitely be interesting to set an AC game in Asia, and see what happens there. So yeah.
Yeah, I know that on forums there are a lot of people who always say we want China, we want Asia. It's either China or World War II on French forums.
Definitely. It's just the World War II thing. I also remember I've talked with some people about that there and there. The idea is cool and everything, but I just maybe think it's too modern, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, maybe in a movie that could work, but in a game I don't know if you should like to play with guns and everything.
Definitely. We already I didn't play Unity, but or I haven't played it yet. Let's say it like that. But there was that World War II segment, from what I know, in Paris and everything, where you climb the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. And we also in Syndicate, had the World War I thingy. I guess maybe set a DLC in World War II could be pretty cool. That is then set around the 1890s, if we go back to that. Maybe have the Great Fall thingy in the 1890s, and then we have DLC where you play as maybe, just like you played as Lydia, who was Jacob's granddaughter. Maybe you play as the protagonist from that game, I don't know, grandson or daughter. And that's in World War II. That could definitely be pretty interesting. Alright.
Yeah, that could be cool.
So, all in all, you would like to see a game like this set in the late 19th century. Really just maybe for the continuity of the Assassins. Yeah. Alright. So, do you have anything to add to this question, or should we hop to the next one?
I just wanted to say something. I think you haven't played Unity yet? Okay, so just a quick thing. I think this AC Rogue River stuff could have been used in Unity. That could have been fun, you know, to have this both Rogue and Unity released the same year, but on both having this switching side ID. Especially because I'm not a huge fan of Unity's actual story, so I think they could have done something cool, but
Definitely.
Too bad.
Right. Alright. So should we hop to the next question, Alfred?
yeah, let's skip to the next question.
So, my second question and final question for you is what elements do you think are important? Otherwise said, what do you think makes for a good Assassin's Creed story?
I think great AC stories are the one that makes you kind of feel guilty. Like every time you kill a Templar, what he says, it's gonna make you feel guilty. You gotta realize that maybe you're not on the right side and everything, and you know you need to have great Templars with great motivations and everything. I think it's very important to make a good AC story. You also need a strong modern day story to have an overall good story. I think it's very crucial to have a strong modern day story and a strong past story. You know, both. You need both to make a great AC game. And also, I think you need some drama, like we had in AC4. Like Edward, he started as this young, reckless boy, and in the end he's wise, but a lot of bad things happen to him. He has lost all of his friends, and it's very dramatic, but very powerful at the same time. And drama is very important.
I know what you mean.
Drama is very important.
I mean, I'm definitely not the only one who was about to cry during the AC4 ending. So yeah, I definitely like that. So you said like the ones where you feel guilty. You may have said it, but is there a specific game where you feel like you really feel guilty, like after killing a Templar, or a specific enemy?
I was thinking about AC1 and AC3. These are both the games that did that the best way. You know, in AC1, when you kill like Robert de Sablé, you realize that he wasn't very this bad guy. You know.
Actually, I still haven't played
real
AC1.
bad guy was
To be
okay.
to be honest, but I have heard of Robert de Sablé. I definitely know what you mean. Like, it's pretty cool. Like when you like perhaps when our protagonist he like starts questioning the ways of the assassins. Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. It is like pretty cool when our protagonist starts like feeling guilty and starts questioning the ways of this little.
So yeah, I was asking, did you play AC3?
Yeah, I played AC3. That was my.
Yeah. So in AC3 they also did that. You know, kill the Templars, and you realize that those Templars they were trying to protect your people, and
yeah. And when you find out that George Washington, like the good guy, actually like was responsible for
that was very powerful. Yeah.
So yeah. Now to my side of this question, or my opinion on this, I think I also talked about a bit on that the last time on the show, but I think what in my opinion what makes for a good Assassin's Creed story is like a story where the protagonists are like driven by something personal. Like you mentioned with Edward, like he's just a young man desperately wanting money. He does this by any means necessary, and then he becomes like more mature and wise and starts understanding the meaning of life. So yeah, like in my opinion, it's really like where the protagonist is like driven by something personal. Like Connor also, for example, he wants to avenge his mother and his people.
Yeah.
Definitely, and that's also just where I feel like, for example, Syndicate is like not the like strongest story, because even Jacob, when you think about it, they're really just assassins liberating London.
Yeah.
And from what I know about Unity, it doesn't sound like the strongest story either. I mean, yeah, I know there's a lot between Arno and Elise, but other than that, it's really just the death of Elise's father that's like the drive for the story, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's another kind of revenge, so it's not very original and unique, and that's quite a shame. You know, they said that it was a quest of redemption, but I feel like it's more of a revenge.
Yeah, definitely, and just revenge. When you think about it, Ezio, like he's the perfect role model there. Like his story is amazing. You know, he starts understanding the meaning of life. Wanted to find out why my family got murdered all those years ago, and then he just, in a kind of way like Edward. Like, I'm not saying it as good as Edward, but you know, he slowly starts understanding the meaning of life and becomes more mature, and in the end becomes the man he is. So yeah. So all in all, like for me, I think it's just the character has to be driven by something personal, where you perhaps have sympathy for the protagonist, in order to like feel like what you're doing is like right. It may be I'm over exaggerating a bit, but that's definitely what makes it good for me. So yeah. Now, do you have anything to add to this, or shall we skip to the next question?
Yeah, just one thing. You know, you say that you wanted a character driven by something personal, and I totally agree. But you know, when you look at AC4, it was very unique and well made, but they tried to do something very original with Edward being this sort of pirate becoming an assassin. But the problem is the audience. You know, a lot of people were complaining about.
Because I had to cut the next few seconds of our conversation in the editing process due to the technical issues we had during recording, we really just talked about Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag and how the pirate stuff kind of took away the assassin stuff, and the assassin stuff kind of took away the pirate stuff. And I'm really just saying this now in order for my next sentences after this to make sense. Definitely. I mean, I also think me and Lasers, we talked about that a bit in episode 1. Like the thing with Black Flag was like there was a bit too much pirate stuff over the assassin stuff, and a bit too much assassin stuff over the pirate stuff. From what I remember. But like I definitely love the idea, and there's a reason for Black Flag being my favorite in the series, no doubt. So yeah, but yeah, I always kind of like you said, I always like when they try to experiment with like characters and stories and try to blend those together, and what it can result in. That's definitely always awesome. So yeah. Now, unless you have anything to add to this, I know you have some questions for me if I'm not mistaken. So why don't we just get right to those?
Okay, so my first question is, for you, how important is the story in an AC game? Like, is it something very crucial for you to enjoy the experience? Or are you more of a gameplay type of guy? Which basically means that as long as you have fun playing through the game, you don't really care about the quality of the writing?
I'd say I am definitely like most of a gameplay guy. I am definitely a gameplay guy. Like, I mostly enjoy like how much fun I have out of it. Like, I am enjoying myself. But it's definitely it definitely like if the story is strong, and it definitely you definitely play as this character knowing that like he did this and that during the story. It definitely like gives another, I don't know what I call it, but it adds a touch to the playing. But I mean, for example, Black Flag, which is undoubtedly my favorite in the series. Like, the reason for me loving that so much would undoubtedly just be because of the world, the map, and the ambience. I think Ubisoft they created in this fiction, or in this digital version of 1715 Caribbean. Just sometimes sailing out into the sunset is just amazing with the ambient music and everything. So I'd say like the story isn't like the main reason why I buy the game. I do it for the gameplay experience, but It's definitely sometimes also if the story like really sucked or was just too short. I mean, I guess maybe I can complain about it. And I definitely also want a game story to be realistic. Like I don't want it to be that and just want it to be, I don't know, too weird. Because I might have experienced that in other games before, like where there was just a lot of, I guess, sci-fi elements in the story that didn't really need them, and that kind of just ruined the experience for me. I mean, and then you can perhaps call the First Civilization sci-fi, but it's just like that blends into the story. Like that's a big part of the Assassin's Creed universe. So, like knowing that, and it doesn't really, it just blends perfectly. Definitely. So all in all, like, yeah, I mainly buy the games for the gameplay, and then I get what I get out of the story. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, that's all I have. Just go ahead.
Okay. Shall we go to the next question?
Yeah, let's just.
Okay, so over the years we've had, okay, it's a pretty long question. So over the years we've played as many different assassins, and each one of them was introduced to the Brotherhood in a very unique way. For example, Altair was born into it, Ezio joined the Assassins for revenge, Arno wanted redemption. But with Rogue, I feel like they really tried to do something unique with Shay, an assassin becoming a Templar, and for this podcast we are talking about an AC Rogue reverse story, which is another idea, very original. So my question is, for the next AC game, would you like to see new unique story ideas, like the one of a Templar becoming an assassin, or would you like to go back to something more original, like a game in which you play from the very beginning to an end as a true assassin, like we've had in AC1? Because I know that many fans want to go back to a more traditional AC game.
Definitely. I mean, just to that thing you said, like, what thing I like the best, like, with a character. I'll say the games we've had where the, I guess, the protagonist you play as, they are assassin from the beginning, like, they were born into the Brotherhood. Like, I can definitely agree, the games take you more direct into the action, and perhaps, like, skipped all sort of maybe boring origin missions, which some people may find pretty boring. And that's also what I really enjoyed about Syndicate. Like, you know, there Jacob and Evie were assassin from the start, and you really just get straight into the action, and the first mission is full of stealth and throwing knifing and killing Templars and all such, and I definitely enjoyed that. But at the same time, I, just for more, I guess, what I'd call story depth, I definitely like the stories where perhaps you start out like just as a normal person, like we've had with Ezio and Connor, and then you get introduced into the Brotherhood, and the more sequences into the game we go, the more evolved this character becomes. And I am definitely that is something I'm not like getting tired of. Like we've seen it in a lot of games, probably in the majority of the games, but I definitely like to see that again. Either that or like a Templar with the Templar becoming an assassin thing. Like, or we are playing as a Templar who's a Templar from Mission 1, and then he becomes an assassin throughout the game. That's definitely what I'd like to see in the next game. Because as you also said with Shay, like, you know, he was an assassin from the beginning of the game. So yeah, it's definitely like, I feel like, as I said, like when you are an assassin or Templar from Mission 1, it just takes you direct into the action.
AC4, I really love that they took some risk and bring something very unique, even if, as I said, you know, people were complaining. I personally love when they take risks in terms of storyline, and that's the main critics I can give to Unity. You know, the story wasn't too risky. You kind of know from the beginning how it's gonna end, and yeah, I want to see fresh things. You know, there are those rumors about AC Empire in Egypt, and the rumors say that you would play as a slave or a former slave, and that could be very interesting.
Definitely. I mean, with the slaves thing, I mean, I haven't played it yet, but wouldn't that be a lot like Freedom Cry, the Freedom Cry DLC?
Yeah. But in Freedom Cry, you start, you're already free.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the AC Empire rumor, like, it hasn't been like fully declined yet. I mean, there were those leaked screenshots going around which were deemed fake, but I mean, I still wouldn't be surprised if it ends up becoming a thing. Like, to be completely honest, personally, I wouldn't want a game set like in such ancient times. I think it's definitely an innovative idea for the series, but at the same time, I just doubt how it'd work with like technology and everything. Like, I don't expect like having a pistol and such, but still, the options would perhaps be a bit too small.
Yeah, that would be weird to go from those modern games we had and go back far in the timeline. Yeah.
Like, I'd say the furthest I'd go back in history in an Assassin's Creed game, I'd say that would be around the Viking Age in like the 800, from like 800 until 1000, the year 1000. That is definitely like the furthest I'd like to go back. Because, you know, like, the Vikings, like, they did have everything like ships, weapons, armor, things like that, which we've seen in a lot of AC games. And then that could definitely be interesting. I also saw some people talk about that once. They'd actually like to see a game set in the Viking Age. Yeah, that could be interesting. Alright, so do you have any more questions for me? Because the part where White24Room asked me his third and final question during the recording unfortunately got lost in the editing process because of technical issues, I am now going to read it out loud. When you play an AC game, what kind of tone do you expect for the story? And by that I mean, would you rather have a dramatic/depressing story like we had in Assassin's Creed 3, or maybe something more fun, like in Syndicate, or something completely else? I'd say I'm not a guy who likes... I'm a guy who like enjoys in movies and video games. Like, I enjoy emotional moments. It definitely like, perhaps it gives you a different impact of it. If this movie has like emotional moments that were really great, but at the same time, you know, were satisfying and weren't like too dramatic, like Titanic, for example. Like you just like think about it, like that was special. And I really feel like that's what they did with Black Flag. Like, you know, Edward, he's a man who really, on his journey, he loses everything, and then, but at the same time, that makes him the man he is. And then the ending, which, you know, like, I thought about for days, like, the ending, you know, was super emotional, but at the same time, it was satisfying. Like, you know, it ends well. So yeah, like, an AC3, like, depressing story. Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Yeah, you know, that was also full of sadness. Like, it was even more depressing than Black Flag when you think about it, because, you know, like, it still ends well for Connor, but at the same time it doesn't. We also talked about a bit about that in episode 1. It's a good question. Like, personally, I'd say it like this. And then with the Syndicate, yeah, that's more fun. Like, in the ending, it's not really sentimental. It's really just fun. And the characters, like Jacob, he's a pretty, I guess, young and fresh character. I'd say I want a story that has fun elements, like Syndicate and Black Flag definitely has throughout the game, but still has emotional moments that feel satisfying. That's definitely what I like to see in stories in general, in movies and video games. So yeah, like, and I definitely like to see that again. Like, I definitely like to see an ending like Black Flag again.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, yeah. Alright, but I can't really think of anything else to add to this. Do you have anything to add? Or shall we slowly wrap this up?
No, I think that's good.
All right, and
Well, just you said that the Connor's ending was kind of happy, but I don't really agree. Like he killed his father, killed his dad. He's lonely, and in the epilogue, when he walks in the homestead, it's very dramatic. He's
Definitely.
alone, and there is this very sad music.
definitely.
It was very, very sad, not very happy.
Definitely. I mean, it's one of those stories I'd call it ends well. Like, they won the war and the assassins won the war against the Templars. He killed Charles Lee and everything. But it didn't end ideally. It didn't end well the way
Yeah,
Connor would really have liked it to end. Like, he's had to do so many alternative choices, kill his father, do so many things that he would have loved to have avoided. Could it have been? And that's also, now that we're just talking about Ubisoft, with Watch Dogs as well. You probably played that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like, it ends well. Like Aiden's story, it ends satisfying, but at the same time, he had to send his family out of town, and the super depressing mission where he says goodbye to his family, and Clara died and everything. Like, it ends well, but at the same time, it could have just ended even happier. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, but with Black Flag it ends. It's very sad, but then you realize that okay, Edward has a daughter, and he's gonna go back to London, so there is something new, something very positive is happening to him. While for Watch Dogs or AC3, you feel like the character is stuck in this dramatic moment.
Definitely. Like Edward, like he knows now he has the opportunity to make a new start. Maybe I've lost everything,
Yeah.
and it could have been avoided, but at the same time, things aren't looking that dark. All right then. So is that everything?
Yep.
All right then. I want to thank everyone for watching and listening to this episode of The Memory Corridor, and I hope every single one of you enjoyed listening to me and White24Room discuss this topic as much as we enjoyed discussing it. To stay up to date on everything The Memory Corridor and more things Assassin's Creed, like my Assassin's Creed photography I call #Creedography, links to my Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat will be in the description below should you be interested in checking that out, along with links to Clee's social media pages and the AC Universe channel, as I said in the beginning of the episode. And like I also said in episode 2 last time, my Snapchat will not necessarily be AC related all the time, but hell, what do you use Snapchat for? You can find some pretty funny and awesome stories there though. Now, if any of you guys have any feedback and or topic ideas you would like to share with me, feel more than free to share them in the comments section below, as it will probably go a long way in the process of making these episodes. Not only for myself, but possibly for you amazing people as well. Now, once again, thanks times infinity for watching and listening, everyone. I hope to see all of you again for future episodes, and until those come out, stay safe, everyone, and keep this amazing community what it is. And also, finally, a huge thanks to our guest for guest starring on the episode. I hope you enjoyed discussing this topic with me, and I hope to see you as a guest another time. It was an absolute blast having you, and thanks once again. And that sums it up for this episode of The Memory Corridor. Stay safe and active, everyone. See you later, Assassins. Peace.